And let's just say it was absolutely, positively the most disgusting thing I've ever put in my mouth. Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be talking about being vegan and my experience being vegan over the last year. Be sure to like and subscribe and let me know down below what your thoughts are about being vegan and if you would ever try it. So let's begin with why I decided to go vegan. So there are a few reasons, but the main one was before the pandemic, during the holiday season, my family decided to go kind of do a little tour of all of the different families that we have kind of across different cities. So we had gone to Montreal and New Brunswick, back to Montreal, Ottawa, and then back in Toronto to kind of do different celebrations here and there with different members of our family. And of course, at each place, we were eating an incredible amount of food. Granted, it was some of the best food I've ever had. I'm talking about mac and cheese, turkey, rice, all of the goods that you have during the holiday season. But let's just say there were definitely effects. By the end of the holiday season, I was looking like this at Christmas, and although there is nothing wrong with looking like that, I definitely didn't feel good. So kind of a backstory, growing up, I was always really, really thin. That being said, just because I was really thin doesn't mean I was healthy. I was actually really tired all the time, like moody, and I wasn't feeling myself. I wasn't able to kind of go to my absolute potential because I was always so exhausted. So a year and a little bit more now, since we're in 2021, I was feeling kind of the same way that I had been when I was that small. So I knew that something was definitely wrong. My focus was off. I wasn't able to do exercise at all. I really just had trouble doing kind of the day-to-day things. I was coming back from work and school just absolutely annihilated and exhausted, and I could barely make it through a day. So with that in mind, my mom actually suggested that we go vegan for a week. So I think 2 years before then, I had actually been vegan for a summer, and I definitely saw a difference, but I stopped because my love for pizza was just stronger for my need than being vegan. So when my mom actually suggested to go vegan again, it just seemed like a good challenge to start off the year by just being vegan for the entire year. So obviously during that vegan journey, there's a lot of things that I learned, good, bad, and some things that I definitely would never, ever do again. So I guess the first thing we could start with is kind of the good things that I learned from being vegan and how I transitioned into it. So growing up, we didn't really eat that much meat. So obviously there were health conditions in my family. And so my mom took it upon herself to make sure we had the most fruits and vegetables possible. So that being said, doing the transition from going to my normal eating habits to veganism wasn't so hard, but the worst part was definitely, and I mean absolutely, definitely 110% giving up pizza. Okay, because that was definitely my vice. When I had accomplished something, I ate pizza. When I failed at something, I ate pizza. Whenever I had an excuse to order myself a big Pizza Hut extra large pizza, and every time if I could put cheese in the crust, I would. That's what I would do. And on top of that pizza, I would have the cinnamon bun and the little boneless chicken wings that you could have on the side when you did that one combo that's always on special. Anyways, other than that, I managed pretty easily to transition to veganism. So some of the things that I noticed pretty much from the beginning, my energy levels went way up. I was able to focus better at school and at work. I wasn't feeling as tired. Granted, my days were really long because I was working and doing school at the same time. So obviously there's still some level of exhaustion, but nothing to what was compared to before. I noticed that my grades went up. I was able to take better notes. I was able to just pay attention better, do more things, and actually challenge myself in different ways. Obviously, this was all before the pandemic when things were shutting down. But that being said, I was still able to increase kind of the productivity and just the lifestyle in almost every way before the pandemic because I was being vegan. And on top of all of those things, I definitely noticed a change in my body. My weight fluctuated less than it had before, so I actually lost a little bit of weight. Although that kind of wasn't the main goal, it was just really just to feel better. Another thing that I noticed is my period, that beautiful time of the month. Usually I would have really excruciating cramps to the point that when I was younger, I actually had to go on medication for it, and I stayed on it for quite a long time. And when I went vegan, the cramps that I had, the pain that I had, the inflammation that I had definitely went way down to the point that now if I need an Advil, that pretty much just does it to stop like the biggest part of my pain when it comes to my period. So other than that, obviously there's just like all of those things that you hear about being vegan, how it's great, how you feel better, your skin is better, you have more energy. Those things are definitely true, although maybe it's a little more hyped up than it actually is, but the gist of it is definitely there. So I'm sure some of you clicked this video just to figure out, okay, so yeah, veganism is great, people talk about it, people scream about it all the time, but let's talk about the cons. So there are definitely cons that I need to talk about because let's just say that I tried some things that if I can warn you about, just don't. So the first thing I need to kind of talk about is how a lot of vegans try to say that there's some foods that are vegan that taste just like the meat, and that's just not true. They have cheeses that taste like absolute trash, I'm sorry to say, but let's just say that I tried this one cheese, not to put it on blast, but I tried Daya cheese, and let's just say it was absolutely, positively the most disgusting thing I've ever put in my mouth, and I will never, ever, 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 ever do that to myself again. I tried vegan pizza, it's like it's not stretching, it's like just it feels like just like if you left cheese, like a cheesy pizza, out for 3 days and then reheated it and then served it. No. Let's just avoid that whole thing. So save your money. It's just not worth it. Another thing is just like vegan chicken, that vegan beef, vegan fish, like all of that stuff. Granted, there are some that taste decent. Like I had I think it was vegan tacos, and they had like a veggie meat that was like beef. That was decent. Beyond Meat burgers are good. I definitely enjoyed those, even though they do have a higher salt content. But let's just say that the substitutes, if you can avoid them, just avoid them. Like, it's not worth it. They're super expensive. It's just not worth the bang for your buck. So another thing that kind of ties into that is the money that you need for all of these substitutes. Like I mentioned, cheese, all of those fake meats, whatever, is expensive. The vegan ice cream I've tried some that were really good, like the Magnum, like the chocolate dip, like vanilla, whatever sticks of ice cream, were definitely good. I've tried the Ben & Jerry's dairy free, that was really good too, but they're definitely on the more expensive side compared to just regular ice cream or regular treats. And then on top of that, it's just like you're paying 2-3 times for like maybe half the quantity. So there's just some things that they're just expensive. And I know a lot of people say that veganism can be cheaper, but like when you're talking about getting fresh produce expires, and especially after a couple of days, it's not the same place where it was before, especially if you're buying organic and stuff like that. So you're just spending more money sometimes than you would otherwise when you're not vegan. And then another thing is that I think that one of the downfalls of veganism are angry vegans. There are some that I think take it way too far and kind of attack people instead of just trying to educate people, which I think is just atrocious. And then another thing that I definitely want to mention is that although veganism is great, it's not for everyone. So it was an easy transition for me because I don't really eat meat on a regular basis. Obviously, when I'm with family and we have huge gatherings, we have meat and it's really good and I love it, but at the same time, it's not something that I make myself regularly. I can go without it. So obviously the transition from me like not eating that much meat to just taking out the dairy on top of that and like other animal products, not that big of a deal. So if you're on the other spectrum of that and you eat a lot of meat, maybe you just do one day, of just being vegan, and that's just an improvement, and in my mind that's just as good. So another thing that I would like to address is that I actually decided after 1 year of being vegan that I'm not going to be vegan anymore. I think there's definitely things that I'm going to keep doing. Like there's some vegan recipes that I love, and I think the best thing about veganism is just trying to find things that taste good without trying to emulate something else. So instead of making good vegan chicken, just make a good vegan meals. There are just like a plethora of things you can find on YouTube if you just type in vegan recipes, and they taste good. So instead of just spending your time trying to copy something else, just stick to really good recipes that you enjoy. And then another thing that I decided to do as well is kind of to go more pescatarian. I might add maybe a couple other meat products, like animal products here and there, but I think for the most part I'm gonna stay dairy free. I'm gonna stay away from most animal products because I've just noticed an improvement, and I don't feel the need to introduce everything back into my diet. And being pescatarian still gives me the option of having some meat without overloading with things that I don't necessarily need, especially dairy. I'm lactose sensitive, and I know I'm not supposed to have dairy, but let's just say I can't stop myself. So I enjoy I think for me to succeed with this, I just definitely just need to cut it out completely and leave it at that. And finally, I think that if you're thinking of being vegan, it's definitely a great thing to try, but it's not the end all be all. If you want to do 1 day of eating just plant-based, that's great. If you try cutting down on maybe some meat products, finding alternatives, it's all about finding things that work for your diet, talking to your doctor, to a nutritionist, a dietitian, and just figuring out what works best for you. Because let's be honest, yelling about veganism isn't going to get us anywhere. I honestly just like some of the things that have been introduced, and that's why I'm sticking to it. But you get to make that decision for yourself, and that's the best part. So I guess that's it for me right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and kind of learned a little of the ups and downs of being vegan, and maybe helped you decide whether you're gonna go partially vegan or completely vegan. And if I could have helped in any capacity to make that decision, it's a bonus on my part. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know, do you think you would go vegan? Do you think you would try vegan meals? Or what other diets could you recommend? Leave it down below and let us all know what you think is the best diet. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Like, subscribe, do whatever you want. Share this video if you think that there's other people who would enjoy it, and I will see you next time.